Most important part of our program is to tell our students how to live kind of lifestyle in which their mind and brain function accurately. How can they do certain exercise, discipline and routine so that they do not get into difficulties of psychological nature and their mental health remains good. This is a topic we have to begin with certain fundamentals. First, they need to understand what is mind, how mental symptoms and mechanisms develop, how mental mechanisms take place and how symptoms develop, what happens when there is aberration or abnormalities of mental function. We will be discussing in the whole series one by one characteristics of mind, how mind functions and what activities students can do to keep their emotion in check, their memory fantastic, their behavior well organized and their cognition well preserved are evolving every day bit by bit, and they continue to think rationally, behave properly, be productive and can function very well in an organized manner. This is the topic that everybody must pay attention to. In our system of app, there are 3 recommendations which are possible. One, either to go and meet a counselor and discuss your psychological difficulties, and the second is either to meet a psychiatrist if you have a symptom which may indicate presence of a mental disorder or a stress due to severe conditions. The third alternative is to do something on your own to improve yourself, to keep everything in check, to live a life, a lifestyle so that your mental health remains good. You maintain good mental well-being. What does it consist of? How mind operates? What are the correlates of mental functions and what determines mind? So there are 4 parameters or 4 determinants that we must remember in a simple manner. One is within ourselves, that is known as biological determinants. Biological means our brain and our body. The brain determines the state of mind. There are finer substitute like brain cells, brain circuits, brain fluid, blood-brain flow, and the character of the brain itself. Something known as phenomena of neuroplasticity, neurotransmission, etc., etc. The biological mechanism in which a number of chemical substances participate. One cell establishes communication with another cell, but overall the brain is responsible for our day-to-day functioning as well as it is responsible for our behavior, our thought, our cognition, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we react, the way our memory develops and we remember things, or we have a power of judgment or a power of foresight, insight, being able to predict something or imagine something or perform certain activities like music or mathematics, how intelligent you are, the level of intelligence, or you are a gifted child, all these matters are decided by biological component primarily, which is within ourselves, and we call it brain. Brain is highly preserved organ in our skull, which is preserved from all kind of insult and damages, though there are situations when brain gets affected. The second aspect is our psychological arm. The psychology, that means what we think affects our mind. what kind of thoughts we have, good thoughts, bad thoughts, being very emotional, being not very emotional, or being able to think in a different direction, or having more involvement, more need of attention, or more need of achievement. There are many number of psychological properties and characteristics which also affect our mental mechanism, and therefore what we call it affects. It's one of the correlate of our mind. The third is outside our body, and that is sociology. The kind of houses we live, what is the density outside, what is the temperature, in which part of the globe you are living, what is the living condition there, the kind of water that you are exposed to, the kind of toxic substances someone is exposed to, kind of human density around you, your relationship with human beings, your relationship, your other social forces, what you observe, and how the brain gets signals and input from social interaction also determines the state of brain, and therefore this is the third important correlate of human brain and mind development. The fourth is often characterized as ecological context or cultural context, which is also closer to social, but there is a fourth moment parameter, that is the spiritual content. How you relate to your nature and environment, how you believe in a supreme presence of a supreme, how you are able to submit or think the purpose of life and relate and utilize these qualities for your own good, how you decide to participate in an activity which is spiritual. It does not mean always a religious content, but a spiritual content is something which is of a higher nature, your conscientiousness, or you believe in a superpower which helps you cope, adapt, and deal with challenges. So these are overall the construction of mind and brain, which is fundamental to decide what activities to do and what activities not to do, how you should choose your friends, how you should develop relationship, what kind of subjects you should select for your career, how aptitude will be defined, how you will live your life, whether happy or not so happy, contented or not contented, how you decide level of your requirement, achievement, success, etc. All these factors in your life is going to be determined by the construction and function of your brain and mind, along with the social situation in which you are living in. So before I move on to the next part of my narration, it is important that you remember this. There are four subtexts of brain-mind context. When we come to psychological functions, we have to remember there are four major functions: emotion, thoughts, cognition, and behavior. We have to focus on maintaining or optimizing the boundaries, intensities, and severities in the function or dysfunction of these four characteristics. We will be talking more about it.